Hi, I'm Avery, the host of Dream Job Diaries, the podcast when you can hear real stories of real careers, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Find out how people turn their passions into paychecks. Today's guest is Tim Ferris, founder of Average Joe Sports Club. We're talking all things entrepreneurship, sports, and what it's really like building a business from scratch. Hi, thanks for coming. If you could introduce yourself and a bit about what you do.
Hi, Avery. Thanks for having me. My name's Tim Ferris, and I run Average Joe Sports Club, which is a recreational sports club for adults.
So what does your kind of day-to-day look like? Like, what do you do?
So, day to day really ranges. It for us, it depends on what part of the season it is, because we run sports leagues for adults. It really depends on where it is in the season, but it can range from getting people to sign up, answering customer service questions, to making schedules, to dealing with discipline if something doesn't go as planned as far as the players, and managing equipment and whatnot. Now, that's where I started. Now that we've kind of grown, I'm more on managing from a little further back, so it's more managing people now, and employees are the ones that do those jobs.
What's your favorite part of your job, would you say?
Favorite part is that there's always something new. I joke with my staff that maybe not every season, but every year for sure, there's a challenge that either a challenge or opportunity that comes out that we've never encountered before, and we have to kind of figure out what to do about it, whether it's a positive like an opportunity or a challenge that a problem we have to solve, we have to overcome. And that's the thing that for me I always wanted is not having the same job day after day after day, but having something different. Of course, there's some days that repeat, of course, but there's always something new that we get up to.
Okay, so now a bit more about how you got to this point. So what and when did you have your first job?
My first job was when I was 14 at Tim Hortons as a counter server. And my dad helped me get that job, or he didn't help me, he got me that job. He knew the owner of the Tim Hortons, and I was totally unqualified because I didn't know how to make coffee. I didn't know what a regular coffee was. I thought that was just black, how it came, or a double. Like, these were all weird. I knew donuts from eating them, and I liked to eat them. But I learned a lot just from having to be responsible to get to your shift on time, and interacting with people that were a lot older than me, and customers that were older than me, and that kind of got me started early.
Do you think having a job as a teenager was beneficial to you or to other people?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think everyone should try to get a job as a teenager. It teaches you a lot of things, discipline, time management, because all of a sudden, when my friends were sleeping in on Saturdays, I was getting up at 6 a.m. to go serve coffees. And it teaches you a lot of skills that are in the workplace at a young age, that are, I think, really important, and it allows you to make some mistakes that everyone's going to make mistakes, and allows you to learn from them, but you're learning them that much earlier, which I think is really beneficial for everyone.
When you were younger, so a teenager or young adult, did you have an idea that this is what you wanted to do, or was it something else completely?
I was pretty sure I was going to be a baseball player professionally. So I think it did. I mean, the fact that I wasn't that good probably stood in my way, but I didn't know that this industry existed. And in fact, as a teenager, it didn't really exist. There weren't really these kind of sports clubs. they were all kind of run by the cities and the towns at the time. So yeah, I had no idea. I always thought I wanted to run my own business, and I always thought if it could involve sports, that would be great. I had no idea what that meant. I could end up in just doing a day-to-day 9 to 5 job, but those are the two things. I wanted to run my own business, and I always, my whole life revolved around sports, so it would be awesome if it did, and I was lucky enough to be able to combine those two things.
So, at what point did you know that, like, more specifically, you wanted to run your own business around, like, running sports leagues?
I didn't know, I think I was 29 when I started it, and I was, I think, 28. I worked for another club that I got this job, and that's where I discovered that this industry, and I learned a little bit about it, and I thought I really liked the industry. I thought I didn't like as much working for that company, but I thought, you know what, I liked the idea, and I think I can start this up myself, and so I did. So it was really just in the year before I actually started up that it even occurred to me that that's something that I might be able to do. But once again, it was a chance to start my own business and involving sports, and so that's what I thought I had. When I was not sure and was kind of doubting whether or not I should do it, when I kind of just put that over in my head of this is what I've been telling people for years, this is my chance, I better step up.
So, you said your own business, but what level of education do you think really helped you to succeed?
So, I mean, at every level, I did high school and I did university, and then I worked for a couple of years, and then I went back and I did grad school, like business school for an MBA. And so I've taken a little bit of something from every level, and you learn along the way. You learn in non-school environments as well, but I definitely use skills that I've learned a lot at each of those stops all the time. Maybe not every day, but every year for sure.
Other people in your company, what sort of level of education and experience would you say they have in order to acquire the job?
So we don't always hire people from a sports program. So this didn't exist back when I was growing up, but there are a lot of sports management and sports admin programs in university and colleges now. And so we do hire a lot from, at least in terms of our full-time, from those programs. You don't have to, but it does give you a leg up, and it does kind of indicate an interest in working in sports, and then a lot of the experiences they have at school or in internships translate well to what we do. But I do have one of my longest serving employees had no background in school in sports and just was a big sports fan, and it has worked out really well, and he's just has learned along the way, because essentially nothing that we do is brain surgery. Like it's not something really technical. I need an enthusiastic person with the skills, and the skills are like organization skills, being detail oriented, communication skills, having some event management skills is great.
So I know you said you previously worked in another job in the same industry. Was there any other experiences people might not think of that really helped you to excel in this job?
Yeah. I mean, I worked for my dad landscaping off and on for like 10 plus years, and that, while not super sexy and like I don't like brag about that, that just taught me the value of like a hard day and how hard manual labor is, and doing the grunt work. And so in our job, we don't in our business, so we don't necessarily have a lot of like physical work. Although there are times of that where just that you're lugging equipment around or but it's making sure that you accept doing the hard work and the kind of gritty jobs that you need to get a job done. The enterprise rent-a-car was my first job out of university, and that taught me a lot in terms of customer service and in terms of sales, and how to deal with customers that sometimes were upset because of something that you didn't do, or even the was out of either your control or the company's control, and just how to work with people and deal with that, but also how to work with colleagues. So at every point, there's something you can learn, even when you don't think it's that you are kind of learning, you are. And so if you can take those little nuggets at each spot you do, that makes you a better employee, better entrepreneur, better person, whatever it is really important. And I definitely have, looking back, I didn't realize it then, but looking back on it now, I do see that.
Okay, so now switching over to more of the behind the scenes and stuff that may be less obvious to people. What is the hardest part of your job, you would say, either currently or in the past?
Well, I'd say like with our businesses, it's always trying to match the number of venues you have with the number of teams. So sometimes you have all these people wanting to play, but you don't have a venue, or sometimes you have this venue, but then people don't want to play. So it's matching that, and it's dealing that, and the last minute nature of people signing up and just being really flexible and just kind of rolling with it, and working under pressure of time deadlines. I'd say that's the hardest thing that we deal with, and is kind of getting things done in a short amount of time.
Are there any skills that are less obvious that really help you to perform well? Like I know you said organization. Is there anything else that people wouldn't think of that is a really useful skill?
Number one, like people skills is like the most important thing. It's being able to work with people and work with customers or client or members. That is honestly, but it's people and then details. That's it. For us. It's the difference between sending someone to the opposite side of town and they're banging on a school gym thinking they have a game when really they have a game 15 minutes away, and that's a big boo-boo if you mess that up. And so, or if you tell them it's 7 o'clock and it's really 8 o'clock. And so you think like I said, there's nothing that we do that's brain surgery, but it's the details. And even like I know nothing about brain surgery except for what I've seen on doctor shows, but the details are really important in that, right? It's like if you get all the details right, it makes things a lot smoother for both you and your customers.
So you started your own company. What was it like starting it? What were some of the reasons you wanted to, and some of the challenges that you faced?
So I tried to get a regular job. I had many interviews. I had like 15 interviews in kind of a year and a half period. I got good at getting interviews, and I actually got pretty good at giving an interview, but I struggled to actually kind of cross the finish line and get that job. So I wasn't in a real career track that way. So I kind of needed I needed a business to work in order to have a good career. And so, and like I said, and I also wanted that freedom, and that it's not all upside. It's that I want that challenge too, of whatever kind of happens, it's all on you. You can't kind of blame someone else. And it's not some big organization where somebody else you'll think, oh, someone else will fix the problem. It's all on you. And so for several years when I first started, it was just me, with a few part-time people, but like in the office, it was just me, and I like that. I like that responsibility and that pressure. But then you get the upside and you get the downside. But yeah, I like that.
Is there any other really big challenges you've had other than, of course, starting it in more recent years? Have you had any big challenges?
Yeah. We've. I mean, there's a little thing. You probably don't remember this, but there's a little thing called COVID-19, and it was not a good time for sports, any kind of the sports industry, because anything that involved having people together was challenging. And so, especially being in Ontario, we had some very tight regulations, and they kept changing. And so navigating that, we were open, close, So keeping the doors open was challenging, and navigating the different rules and when they would change and explaining those rules to members and keeping them adhering to the rules even when some of them didn't agree with the rules. And it was just something that that we communicating that we got people either like in person and phone or email like very frustrated, and we had to explain to them like these are not our rules, we are just relaying what the government is saying that we have to do in order to be able to play sports. And that was important to be able to because if we don't adhere to the rules, like we won't be able to play it. So if you want to play, this is what you have to do. Also getting the venues, because some venues were not allowing people to play sports in, like schools. So that was the biggest challenge I've had in 18 years. It was really hard, and some days were really frustrating. Just when you think you kind of get it going, there was another curveball, and it lasted for like 2 years, and it really kind of even longer than that. The spillover effects lasted. We couldn't even compare where we were at until we got back into like 2023, really.
I know COVID changed the recreational sports industry. What are some other ways it's changing, and how are you adapting, like social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, for any business, how you market has changed a lot since we first started. Because we first started in 2007, and we did a lot of things that we still do, which is like advertise on Google and advertise on Facebook. But as a certain daughter of mine often tells me, like Facebook is for old people. So we now also advertise on Instagram and having more, trying to figure out what's the best way to get engagement with our members on social media and still being professional without, and having the right tone and is always a challenge. And then like the algorithm for Google, like what ads show, has constantly changed. So I trained my senior staff on how to use Google Ads, but I bet you now I couldn't even figure out how to do it now, because they keep changing how to do it. And what worked in 2007 to 2013, when maybe I was still doing it, doesn't work anymore. It has changed. Like when I first started, people weren't seeing Google Ads on mobile devices. They're seeing them on laptops and desktops. So that has really changed. And then kind of people's expectations of what they expect in the sports leagues or for any company constantly change as the different generations. Because when I started in 2007, you got to remember if someone was 20 to 40 in 2007, like 18 years ago, that 40-year-old is 58 now, and I have people that played with me that he's starting to play with his kid who's like 18. So there's definitely that generational divide. And so we have in our office, we have a bunch of people that are in their early 20s, and then I'm in my late 40s. And so it just even, the expectations in terms of working and kind of the office environment kind of gets tweaked and whatever. But these are all things that if you want to stick around, you have to keep adapting to what you need to do.
What would you say is like the biggest misconception people have about your career or industry?
What's the biggest about my career? Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize how long Average Joe Sports Club has been around. Because unless you've kind of heard of it, you know someone who played it. Because it's early on. Obviously, it was very small, right? And even in the industry, I went to an industry event, and they had never heard of us. And they're like, "Oh, how long you been around?" Like a couple years, and I was like, "Well, 18." So, and that just speaks to how long a grind it is to get to a certain size. So where we're having thousands of people play in our leagues every week, but it just takes time and grinding, and nothing happens quickly. You might get a few steps that help in terms of growth, but it's just that daily, weekly, seasonal grind to just try and keep growing and try and get a little bit better all the time.
What would you say to anyone who is interested in learning more about either like sports management and that type of thing or starting their own business?
So I would just say, like, to anyone, like, just try a bunch of different things, because you really don't know what's out there, and it, doing things kind of brings up other opportunities, and you find out about it, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. So, when you talk about starting your own business, like, I think it's something like only 1 out of 5 businesses make it past a few years. So that's okay. Like, you want to start your own business, try it, and if it fails, it fails. No big deal. That's kind of to be expected. I got lucky, but I actually worked for someone else in terms of being a co-owner, and that failed miserably. I had to leave because we just didn't have the business, and I learned things from that. As long as you learn, no one would look at trying to start your own business and then it didn't work on your resume as a failure. That's a learning opportunity, and especially as long as you can say, hey, this is what I learned from it. And then in terms of like getting into sports, really, like, the best way is to get some experience. So there's in like the kind of sports clubs that we run, there's always part-time opportunities. Someone to set up the volleyball net, or set up the or ref the dodgeball game, or help at the tournament. So we have many of those positions. We're always looking for more, and so get involved in that, because when we look for a full-time person, if one of those, we call them event coordinators, if one of those apply, and as long as they do everything they're supposed to do in the application, they automatically get an interview. So that's what I'd say that. And if it's not the type of sports industry that we do, but you want to work for the Toronto Blue Jays, or whatever, get a job doing whatever the lowest job is at the stadium or wherever, or volunteer, intern, get that experience however you can, and then because that always, I think the title of this podcast is something to do with your dream job. You never get your dream job right away. You got to do the grunt work to build up towards getting your dream job, and you just have to always kind of keep pushing that snowball up the hill, and adding skills, adding experience that will get you to your dream job, or if it's running your own business, getting you to the spot where you are ready to run your own business. Like I did it when I was 29, almost 30, and at that point I had the skills to run it, or at least I've gained more and more skills by doing it. But when I was a teenager, I wouldn't have been ready to run this, or 22. Maybe some teenagers would be, but I certainly was not. I needed a little bit of life experience, a little bit of failing, a little bit of learning to get to that point where I was ready.
What would you kind of say to people who have they're unsure what they want to do, like high school, university, college? What would you kind of say to someone if they have no idea what they want to do?
First of all, totally normal. Like, that is absolutely normal, and it's the people that know exactly what they want to do from a young age and they never change. They're the lucky ones, and they can be focused on what they're. But that is few and far between. Because even the people that think they say they exactly what they know what they want to do, most of them end up changing to something else. When I was in first year science at McMaster, they said, "Oh, who wants to go to med school?" Everybody put up their hand except for me, and maybe out of those like 300 people in that lecture hall, I bet you 10 of them went to med school. So if you know what you think you know what you want to do, there's a good chance you're going to have to pivot at some point anyway. Either because you don't get into that school, you can't get into that career, you're struggling to get in a career, you have to make a pivot, or you get in, you're doing okay, but you don't like it. And so you make the choice to move into something that you do like. So don't freak out is the first thing. Second is try a bunch of stuff. Like I mentioned before, just try a bunch of things, because part of the problem of why most people don't know what they want to do is they don't know what there is to do. They don't, so they are unfamiliar with all the options. As certainly I was. In high school, I took 3 math and 3 sciences in my last year because that's just what I'd always done and done well in them. And then I went into a science program because that's what the courses I took. I didn't know about all the options. So do some research, talk to a lot of people. That's the best thing you can do is talk to people who are a little more senior and ask them about their job. Now you get to listen to podcasts and see what listen to their careers and oh, that's a career I never thought of. And then you can find out about it, see if maybe it's something that you would be interested in. There's definitely time, but what I would say is always be in motion. So always be looking to do something and doing something, because good things happen to the people that are busy. They always say if you want to get something done, find a busy person because they'll get it done. Don't be a person kind of laying on the couch going, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And so you have this inertia and you never get going. Try a bunch of stuff, and if it doesn't work out or you're not good at it or you don't like it, that's okay. Chalk it up, but get some skills, get some experience, and move on and try something else.
What are some skills or experiences you think that are good for younger people to do in order to just prepare for the future?
So it always depends on what they want to do ultimately, but if you make the assumption that someone has no idea what they want to do, what are good experiences and good skills that apply to everything? So I also leadership, and any leadership opportunities I think are always positive, because you're going to have to be able to make decisions and to lead people at some point. You hopefully want, if you want to progress in your career, and leadership opportunities look good on a resume, and they do tend to impress some way when you're interviewing. But communication skills, both in person and written, very, very important. And I'm always surprised with the lack of kind of professional skills that some people will show up. Little things like writing a correct email, using punctuation and capital letters, and not texting not treating it like a text to your best friend. So those are really important skills. Working with people, working with teams. If you work with a team, super important, because in business life, you most of the time end up working with a team. So having that the team dynamic experience, very important. So yeah, if you can kind of find something, and you don't have to find someone that does every one of those, just maybe it's one of those or 2 of those, and you really kind of get a good experience there, and then maybe the next thing you do is good with something else.
Thank you for coming. It's unfortunately time for us to wrap up. Is there anything else you want to add before?
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. It's been great chatting with you, Avery, and I love what you're doing, and keep doing it.
If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. This is my first episode of what I hope will be many, so I'm constantly looking for ways to improve. If you have any feedback, reviews, questions, or even looking to be on an episode, feel free to comment or send me an email. Thank you so much for listening, and have a fantastic day.